Hi guys, it's Michaela here from the Mom and Baby House. Today we'll be chatting to Kate Armstrong, an educational psychologist, on how she applies neuroscience to everyday parenting. I hope you enjoy. So firstly, I just want to welcome you to our shop. It's really great having you here today. And then secondly, can you just please introduce yourself to the moms out there and just give a hint of what is an educational psychologist?
Okay, first one, I really thank you for inviting me to your shop.
You're welcome.
This is a subject I'm absolutely passionate about, so I'm really excited to share it. So I'm Kate Armstrong. I am an educational psychologist and I've worked in private practice in the southern suburbs of Cape Town for the last 20 years. And in the years that I've worked, the longer I've worked, the more I've seen that if we had been able to catch these families or these children when they were younger, we may have had a better outcome. So I've really been interested in early interventions rather than waiting until adulthood.
Yes.
And I've had the privilege of working with families with a range of emotional problems, learning difficulties, behavioural problems. And it just seems that early intervention is really helpful. As psychologists, we're endlessly trained. We have to get CPD points to stay registered. And I recently did a neuroscience training. I started 5 years ago. And in that, we learned a lot about the kind of primal circuitry in the brain. And the circuitry that we share with all mammals is the circuitry for the care system. And when we were learning about the care system, we really learned about how we've evolved and what our brains need in the early developmental stages. And it just spoke to me so clearly about this information is way too important for it not to be shared with everybody. It should be taught in schools.
Yes.
Because it really views parenting in a different way. And it's not parenting in a way that, oh, it feels right because this is what my mum did.
Mm-hmm.
We look at that too, what feels right for you as a parent. But it's that this is what we can see babies' brains need.
Yes.
And so it shifts how we actually position ourselves and what primary focus in these years, especially the first 2 years.
Definitely. Touching on the early brain development, you're completely different to just another educational psychologist out there because you actually focus on infant mental health and the first 1,000 days of their life,
Yes.
which is fantastic. So I just want to touch on the Brainchild Workshops that you provide and what exactly they entail for the moms.
Okay, so I'm currently running 2 Brainchild Workshops. There's a level 1 and a level 2. They kind of build on each other, but I'm trying to make it that perhaps you could attend level 2 before level 1 and do it the other way around. I strongly recommend you do both of them because they are different. And the workshop's about 3 hours long. There's a little break in the middle where you get a tea and coffee. And what I'm really trying to help parents understand is the importance of those first 2 years of life.
Yeah.
And what's happening in your child's brain in the first 2 years of life. And the reason why this has become so important and so kind of topical, I mean globally this idea of the first 1,000 days is huge. And what we're seeing is that the brain architecture for empathy and for how your child positions themselves in the world, their kind of personality in a way, happens before they're 2.
Wow.
At 2 years old, the brain architecture, the fundamental brain architecture for empathy and emotional regulation is kind of fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this window before 2 where, and so what we're seeing is that parents should kind of see themselves as more of emotional regulators of their babies rather than disciplining their babies.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way what it's saying is that the baby needs a primary caregiver who is emotionally well regulated themselves because they are then able to regulate their baby's emotions.
And that's the challenge.
And that's the challenge. So it's all about that connection and that almost embodied connection with your child.
Yes.
So I do go a little bit into my aim is to really try and present scary neuroscience with bits of brain anatomy that you can't even pronounce the words.
Yeah.
I try and present that in ways that are relevant and accessible.
Yes.
And also I share the new research that's coming out with parents so that you kind of know what's out there and what the specialists are saying and what studies are telling us. So we do a little bit about the different basic regions of the brain, but really in terms of what that means for you as a parent.
Yes.
I think from all the videos that we've done so far, I think you would agree that this is the most important
For sure.
content.
Yes.
And I really think parents should take this very seriously.
Oh, yes.
And consider doing a Brainchild workshop. Of course, if you're in South Africa, Western Cape, are there anywhere else in the country, South Africa, where they can find something similar like this? Or do they have to fly down to us?
I think
They have to fly down.
But in fact, what I am trying to do, I mean, this is a very transportable workshop,
Oh, sure.
and I am going to try and do one in Joburg and in Durban.
Well,
And I
Fantastic.
have contacts with mums who have small babies.
yes.
Who, I mean, there's a huge need. So if there are
Yes.
enough, I would definitely go up and
Yes.
do workshops in other places.
No, look, I think it's fantastic that you, apply neuroscience to everyday parenting, because it's not just about the child, it's about the parents facilitating that child.
Yes. Yeah.
So important. And then the next thing I wanted to know is that obviously there's many issues that you can address and assist clients with now, new moms or moms to be. But one of the issues that stood out to me, and I know this is a huge problem amongst our clients, is sleep and separation.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say sleep, I also mean the crying aspect, waking up in the middle of the night a gazillion times.
Not
Yes.
sleeping.
And they're
Yes.
not sleeping.
Do you
And they-
have, yeah,
I mean, I think with all of these things with
Yeah.
babies, it's really about the relationship. Everything must be done within a relationship with the primary caregiver.
yeah,
Up until 2 years old, the baby is really unable to regulate their own emotions. And basically, babies shouldn't be left to cry. It's not, I'm not saying that because sometimes your baby will be crying and you'll be trying to soothe it and it continues to cry and you don't know why. That's different from leaving a baby to cry.
yes.
That is a baby crying in connection with someone, with somebody that hopefully has a well-regulated emotional system that will help soothe the baby. But having said that, parents also become exhausted. So I mean, we want parents to be, well-resourced themselves and not too tired and not too
Yes.
stressed out. So there's a fine, delicate balance of how do we do that. And just the ideas of babies crying, we know that if babies cry for extended periods of time and aren't soothed, they actually go into a kind of despair cycle, and their levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone in their brain, goes through the roof. And
Yes.
that actually inhibits brain development. We've seen that. We can see that on scans.
And we know there's a sleep technique out there
Yes.
that supports lengthy times
Yes.
of crying. And
Yes.
of course, I just threw the book out of my window. So that was my take on that theory. But I think it's very important that parents, moms that are listening to this video, we're just skimming the top here.
Yes.
I think this goes very deep. This is like the stuff for me of life. I've got now 2 young adults. One is sitting here, and I can see the problems that you have to deal with. Once they hit school, then everything goes, and you're like, oh, I never picked up this, I never picked up that, because I'm connected with my baby. No, you don't always have the right tools or enough tools to actually diagnose your child or pick up issues that's going to be radical to deal with later in life. So whatever we can do in that first 1,000 days, we got to get done, because it's going to save you a lot of tears, money and anguish once that child is flying or trying to fly.
Yes.
So I really think we're just touching here on the surface, and it goes much, much deeper.
Yeah, and the whole issue of sleep is really quite contentious. And parents do need to sleep, I do get that.
Yes.
But there's I think the idea is that it needs to be done, any kind of sleep training needs to be done in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
It's not about abandoning babies.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel really strongly about this, that those first 1,000 days, especially up to 2, is really where we help our children grow in the neural networks for empathy. So in our highly violent society now, and I think in the generations to come, in the decades to come, we're going to see huge amounts of funding and kind of support going into that, because I mean, I do think that's why we have an adult population of people that don't do empathy so well.
That's
And
in South Africa. It's a crisis of national.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it. It's just crazy at the moment here in South Africa. So we deal with small children having absolutely no empathy. You know, we don't want to talk too much about that, but there's some really painful things that we see here. So, yeah. Kate, can you please tell our audience what are the three, there'll be many more, but the three most important benefits or value that the client can get from a Brainchild workshop?
Okay, I think the three main things that parents have asked me questions about in the workshops and that come up the most are the issues around sleep, and getting the baby getting enough sleep and parents getting enough sleep.
Yes.
So we will cover that. Another one would be tantrums and how to manage tantrums with children.
Yes.
And what's the best way to approach them as a parent. And the third one will be emotional regulation.
And that means?
Well, that really is about, the bottom line is really the emotional regulation of the baby comes from the parent being well emotionally regulated. So one of the strong messages is, as parents, we need to make sure that we are okay and well resourced. So I will also talk about how do we do that?
Yeah.
How can we present ourselves as best we can so that we are emotionally well resourced to be able to look after these little people who are really building their brain architecture via ours.
Yes, and then you will also have a strong component of biology, physiology, anatomy built into that, so that they have a very good understanding of the brain and the latest research around it.
Yeah, and why this idea of the relationship is so important, and what's happening in our right and left brain hemispheres and our babies. So we look at it, and there is brain anatomy and neuroscience, but it's very relevant to how is this going to help my child right now regulate their emotions? What must I be thinking is happening in my brain, and what will be happening in my child's brain? And what does my child then need from me?
Well, I think we have enough information to keep the moms, or to give them a little taste of what's to come still. If you're looking for Kate, you can find all of her contact details at the end of this video, or she will also be listed as a service on our Facebook page, where you can contact her via email or phone, or even look at her website. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for letting me share this.
No problem. If you enjoyed that video, please remember to give it a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and stay tuned for our next video coming up. Hope you have a lovely day.